Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Coaster News. And this is actually the first episode of Coaster News from April 2022. And obviously it's a new month, there's obviously loads of new things happening in the theme park community. So let's get straight into the news today. There's lots of obviously amazing news, as always, from theme parks, rides and attractions all over the world. So let's get straight into the news today. Our top story for tonight: Thorpe Park have announced that Stealth is going to be RMCs for the 2022 season. This is absolutely incredible news. They're going to make the ride 400 foot tall and they're going to put an inversion at the top. This is just insane. And they've also announced that it's April Fool's Day, and it's not true. And our top story for tonight: Spinjam has officially opened at Alton Towers. And obviously this ride is quite anticipated, sort of, for Alton Towers as Retro Squad lineup. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then basically the Retro Squad, Alton Towers, it's a thing that started last year, where basically, in order to combat the long queues on the rides, because at the start of the season, not all the rides were open because of COVID and whatnot. For example, all the indoor rides were closed, like Jewel, Gangster Granny, which hadn't opened yet at that point, and Hex, they were all closed at the start of the season because of COVID restrictions. So mainly to combat that, they actually rented 4 new temporary flat rides from a showman, from a travelling fun fair. One of them went into the new David Walliams area, so I think they were going to be there year round anyway. And the 3 others, were going to be part of a specific group of rides called the Retro Squad, which were going to be like 80s style themed rides. They were supposed to be the entire backstory. They actually made up a whole backstory for these rides and everything. They are like these robot that transform into flat rides, kind of like Transformers from another planet. And in 1980, someone sent out a message to them saying urgent rides needed at Alton Towers. And obviously the Retro Squad arrived 40 years later. And obviously they transformed into their ride forms, obviously, and that's what they were for the entire season. So the ones that they had were Funk and Fly, Mixtape and Roller Disco. They were the original 3 Retro Squad rides. Mixtape went in X Sector, where Submission used to be located. Funk and Fly went into Forbidden Valley, where Ripsaw once was. And Roller Disco got placed in Dark Forest, where Ugswinger once was. That was back when it was themed to Ugland. But obviously, it went in that exact locations where that ride once was. Obviously, and they're all incredible rides. They got quite a lot of great reception from visitors at the park that season. They got a lot of great reception that they wanted to actually bring the rides back for the 2022 season, because they were very popular. And about a month before the Alton Towers reopened for the 2022 season, they announced that Funk and Fly and Roller Disco would be returning for the 2022 season, but Mixtape is off on another mission. And obviously that was their cryptic sort of themed way of saying that Mixtape is at another fun fair somewhere and will keep you up to date on its mission. Obviously they haven't got any updates yet, but we all thought, what's going to happen on that site? Is it just going to be empty, or is it going to be replaced by a new ride? And literally a couple of days before Alton Towers reopened for the 2022 season, they announced a new Retro Squad ride, Spinjam, which is the one we're talking about today. And that was going to be the ride type itself is called I think it's a Tivoli Air Raid. So obviously, yeah, I've seen the ride operating and it looks quite extreme. It looks like probably the most extreme Retro Squad ride there is. And obviously it was in the travelling fun fair, and it's been relocated to Alton Towers for the 2022 season. And obviously, as you can expect, because they announced it so close to the opening day, obviously they didn't have time to test it or to put all the theming up for the opening day. So it actually opened last Saturday on the 26th of March 2022, and I was actually there on the opening day for Spinjam. Unfortunately, I didn't get to ride it, but I saw it in operation. There's actually the video that you can see, what was the footage that I filmed of the ride, and it looks absolutely incredible. So I was there on the opening day for the ride, and I'm hoping that next time I go to Alton Towers, which has only been a couple of weeks for the new Festival of Thrills event, I will definitely, hopefully, be able to ride Spinjam, because it looks crazy, and it looks like the most intense retro squad ride. And I've been on roller disco, although bearing in mind a lot of people don't seem to think that's intense because it's not like the other waltzes, but I'm going off topic, I'm talking about Spinjam. It looks like an amazing ride, and as for where Mixtape is, I don't know. Obviously, the last we heard of it, apart from Alton Towers' announcement that they won't be returning for this season, after it got removed from Alton Towers at the end of last season, it went to Hyde Park Winter Wonderland. But where it has been since then, I don't know. It's another travelling fun fair somewhere in the UK. If you see the ride at any travelling fun fair this year, please tell me, because I want to know where Mixtape is, because it was the best retro squad ride in my opinion, and it looks, obviously I hope it's still operating. I imagine it is, because it's not like it's been completely demolished, it's gone to another fun fair, because like I said before, Alton Towers aren't the legal owners of these rides, that they're rented from a showman of a different fun fair, or a few different fun fairs, and apparently they're making a fortune off of Alton Towers renting these rides, so that's good for them. That's good business for them, and obviously, if Mixtape does come back, let's just pray it does, because it was such an incredible ride. Although, how does it compare to Spinjam? Well, I don't know, because I haven't been on it yet. But what do you think? Is it better? Is Spinjam better than Mixtape, or is it the other way around? Is Mixtape better? Because I've been on Mixtape, and that was the best out of the 3 retro squad rides. So I'll be able to see for myself in a couple of weeks when I go on Spinjam. In other news today, The Guardian has officially opened at Fantasy Island. And I know I said 2 weeks ago, like not even that, like, no, yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, the Guardian will be opening on the 19th of March. Obviously that didn't happen, I'm not sure why, but Fantasy Island did point out, they did say, on Friday the 25th, so last week, that the Guardian would actually open on the 26th, and it did, and it looks incredible. I'm not sure what kind of ride it is. I think it's like a robo-arm type ride, and the way they've done it, it looks like a very extremely immersive ride, not like anything that Fantasy Island have done before. Obviously, they've been working on it for the past couple of years. That basically in 2020. They were supposed to opening a ride called Turbulence. I've actually now, I don't think that's the same ride, it's a different one, but however, obviously Turbulence didn't open, but then, at the end of the 2020 season, they announced a new ride called The Guardian, and obviously it's got it's got quite a story as well. It's like about dragons and castles and knights and things like that. It's got kind of a lot of theming in it. There's obviously they've shown some clips of the actual ride itself, not the well, yeah, but it looks like so heavily themed. Obviously it's going to be a permanent ride, because in case you didn't know, some of Fantasy Island's rides are only temporary and they'll have like a certain amount of time per season, but this looks like to be a very much a permanent ride, because it's got a lot of immersive theming, and I think it opened on Saturday last week. So that's obviously incredible news. We've been waiting for this for a long time. It was originally supposed to open in 2021, and I'm not actually sure how long it actually took them to build it, but I remember going to Fantasy Island in September last year. I actually walked past the entrance of the Guardian. It hadn't opened yet. They fenced the whole entrance off, but the entrance was completely finished because there was the dragon on top. It literally looks like the dragon on the top of Gringotts Bank in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal, but it's in the pyramid structure of Fantasy Island. So I'm not sure how they've managed to build it without taking any like panels off of the top of the pyramid or anything like that, because it looks so heavily themed and such an incredible ride. I can't wait to see it for myself if I go to Fantasy Island this year, which I hope that I will be able to experience the Guardian. And like I said, I think it's going to be a new permanent ride, because like I said, it's got a lot of theming. They're not going to add that much theming just for a temporary ride. But hopefully I will experience it one day. If you have experienced it so far, please tell me what do you think and what type of ride is it, because I only know a little bit about it. There's not a lot of information about it online. I only know it's like a a robot arm type ride, but it looks, there's no POVs of it on online or anything. Not that I could find anyway, but it looks fantastic and I can't wait to experience it. Also in the news today, the lift hill for ArieForce One at Fun Spot Atlanta has officially been topped off. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically ArieForce One, and I'm pronouncing that right, ArieForce One, is a new RMC iBox Hybrid Coaster being built at Fun Spot in Atlanta in America. And it's basically, it's supposed to be a ground-up iBox hybrid. I think it's going to be 155 foot tall, and it was rumoured to have the first Immelman on an RMC hybrid, but unfortunately that was later confirmed to be a dive loop, a dive drop, which is actually the start of the ride after the first drop. And obviously recently, within the last week, they have actually topped the ride off. I think it was yesterday or Wednesday or something like that. And obviously that's a major milestone in the construction phase. I mean, I'm finding it weird, right, that they're saying they want the ride to be open in 2022. They haven't said yet. They haven't said when they want it to be open yet. But they only started vertical construction about a month ago. They've only just topped it off. They haven't started placing track yet, but they've placed some support structures. Obviously the track, it's supposed to be like, because obviously on RMC hybrid coasters, the track is supposed to be obviously steel, and on this specific ride, one rail is blue and the other one's red. I'm not sure which order it's in if I'm doing this right, but it's multicoloured track basically. Obviously the supports the ride, so it looks quite like in very much American flag colours. I mean, I know it's not themed to the United States, it's actually themed to space travel, believe it or not, even though it's got the name ArieForce One, which is similar to obviously the plane Air Force One, which the president flies in. But I know that it looks to be one of the best RMC coasters ever built. I don't think it's going to have a beyond vertical drop like Iron Gwazi does, but I think it might have a vertical drop. It obviously looks like a very extreme RMC. The RMC are actually planning to open two new rides this year. I think it's two, at least two. There's obviously ArieForce One, and there's Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which has also only just started vertical construction. But yeah, that looks like it's going to be an incredible ride, and it's got a lot of ejector airtime and inversions, as we've come to expect from RMC, and from what I've heard, this is actually quite a big step forward for Fun Spot Atlanta, because up until now, they've only built like smaller little rides, like little flat rides and maybe some smaller roller coasters. So this is a big step forward for them. It's mainly like Fun Spot Orlando that have gotten the attention with things like White Lightning and whatnot. They obviously, that ride actually got retracked recently slightly in one section with the new RMC, I think it's a new RMC Titan track, which is supposed to be a steel track. It was only in a small section, it wasn't completely retracked. But obviously I think that was to make that part of the ride more enjoyable for guests. So most of the attention's gone to Fun Spot Orlando, but now Fun Spot Atlanta, here they are building this massive RMC hybrid coaster from the ground up. I don't think they've ever had any sort of wooden coasters before, or if they have, not only on this scale, because it's quite a big ride. It's going to dominate the park skyline for sure, and I'm hoping this is like a big step forward for the park in the near future, because it just looks absolutely incredible, intense, fast, thrilling rides. And finally in the news today, Farmyard Flyer has officially opened at Paultons Park. And obviously, this ride has been quite anticipated for, well, not really that anticipated, but it's quite, obviously it's an amazing family coaster. It's a new roller coaster for Paultons Park. Bearing in mind, they only got a roller coaster last year with Storm Chaser, along with an entire new themed area. This year, they decided to expand on that area by building another roller coaster. And obviously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically in 2021, Paultons Park opened a new themed area called Tornado Springs, and obviously it was home to a few different rides. It had a Zampella, I don't think it's Zampella, but it had a ride called Cyclonator, which was like a giant, I think it's a Zampella Giant Discovery swing or something like that. I'm not sure what type of ride it is. Obviously there's 2 junior drop towers. There's a driving school in that area. There's a like a miniature railway ride, and obviously the main highlight ride in that new area is a new Mack Ride spinning coaster called Storm Chaser, which opened with the area nearly 1 year ago on the 12th of April last year. And in 2019, because bear in mind it was originally supposed to open in 2020, but obviously because of COVID, that could not happen. So they delayed it by 1 year. But in 2019, before they announced Storm Chaser, it was actually rumoured that was going to be a Mack Extreme spinning coaster. But obviously unfortunately that was later, that rumour was later debunked and it turned out to be a normal sized Mack family coaster. It's actually a clone of Sierra Sidewinder at Knott's Berry Farm in California, but obviously with slightly different track. And it was a great new addition for the park, obviously with a lot of theming, because Paultons Park really seems to be stepping up their game over the last few years. They've added a lot of new immersive theming and incredible rides each year. And even though this is a new area, you'd think they wouldn't add any new attractions to that area for a few more years. Well, they've literally decided to build a new roller coaster for that area this year. I mean, granted, it's not on the scale of something like Storm Chaser, but it's still a new coaster nonetheless. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Farmyard Flyer is a ArieForce coaster. It's like a little kids coaster, but it's obviously, once again, it's got incredible immersive theming, and even the plane, the car, the trains. I'm saying it because it looks like a plane. The trains on the ride are modelled to look like a plane and like an old, old 1950s American type plane. And the way they've done it is incredible. Even the propeller at the front of the ride spins. Is obviously, it reminds me of Barnstormer at Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World a little bit, but obviously it looks so incredible. Obviously the station, the theming around the ride is obviously incredible, and this is a great new addition for younger kids, because obviously their last couple of coasters have been for a little bit older audience, but obviously not like massive extreme thrill rides, but it's great that they've added something that's targeted at like small children, because I don't think a small child would want to go on something like Storm Chaser or Flight to the Terrace or Velociraptor or something like that. So it's great that they've added that new ride for little kids. And that is it for this week's episode of Coaster News. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, then please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment by who you'd like to see in the next video. Bye!